Washington looking into Melchione. He has it. Force one from 60 feet away. No good. That's it. The Pacers win. The Indiana Pacers are the ABA champions. Congratulations to them. Here we go.
Indiana 108, the New York Nets 105.
Put it in order, baby. Put it in order.
Yeah, John.
Nice game, man.
The big thing that I can say today is we walked down the tunnel 5 times in 8 years to play for the whole ball of wax. And the relationship that we had, the togetherness we had, going down the chute like we did that many times, and the pressure that was on us, I don't see that existing on very many ball clubs.
But I think we have something that's everlasting and very few people will ever have in their life. We have 3 championship rings.
I emphasize the fun because that's what Indiana Pacer basketball and ABA basketball was at that time. It was fun business.
The 2 leagues merged. The guys from the ABA were so exciting that they made the older guys in the NBA, either you become exciting like we are, or you're going to have to get out of the game. We're going to push you right out of the game.
I don't think there'll ever be a team like we had. I'm not being egotistical or anything. I just don't think there'll ever be a team like we had in those first 3 or 4 years in those championship seasons. It's just, I've been on a lot of teams, I've seen them, and I don't think you'll never see that animal again. We were a very unusual, very different team.
More than 2 decades ago, the Indiana Pacers beat the Kentucky Colonels for their first victory ever as a professional basketball organization. Hello, I'm Rick Maultra. I used to cover the Colonels and the Pacers in the sporting news for Jim O'Brien when he had a column about the American Basketball Association. That was several years ago and more than I care to remember. Today, though, we are going to go back to those old ABA days when the Indiana Pacers generated excitement in a league that forever left its mark on professional basketball, and when the Indiana Pacers carved a niche into a bit of Hoosier history. Let's look back at the ABA as it began in 1967 with its 11 newly formed teams. There was the Minnesota Muskies, who later became the Miami Floridians. The Oakland Oaks became the Washington Caps, and later were known as the Virginia Squires. The Houston Mavericks moved and became the Carolina Cougars, and later the Spirits of St. Louis. The Denver Rockets changed their name to the Denver Nuggets. And of course there was the Kentucky Colonels. The New Jersey Americans later became the New York Nets. The Pittsburgh Pipers moved to Minnesota for a year and went back to Pittsburgh to become the Pittsburgh Condors. The New Orleans Buccaneers moved to Memphis, becoming the Memphis Pros, then the Memphis Tams, and finally the Memphis Sounds. The Dallas Chaparrals moved to San Antonio and became the San Antonio Spurs. The Anaheim Amigos became the Los Angeles Stars, then the Utah Stars. And of course, then we come to the Indiana Pacers. In early 1967, a group of Indiana businessmen formed Indiana Professional Sports Incorporated to purchase a franchise in the newly formed American Basketball Association. The makeup of that corporation, which ran the Pacer franchise for the next 8 years, included John and Chuck DeVoe, Bob Bowes, Lynn Treese, Dick Tinkham, Norb Schaefer, Bill Bastian, and Fred Weezy. In the naming of the new franchise, the board of directors toyed with the idea of calling it the Pacers. The thinking being that the pace cars at the 500 set the pace for the field at the race, and the Indiana Pacers could set the pace for basketball in Indiana. In 1975, Arena Sports took over the franchise. Other ownership changes included Indiana Pacers Limited Partnership in 1976, Sam Nassie's takeover of the ball club in 1979, and Mel and Herb Simon's purchase of the Indiana Pacers in 1983. The city of Indianapolis, recognizing the success of the Pacers, built Market Square Arena to house the team and facilitate its overflowing attendance from the Indiana State Fairgrounds. City officials assisted in the Pacer Telethon ticket drive when the organization was experiencing some instability prior to their acceptance into the NBA. As the Pacers began in the ABA, Larry Ratermann, an assistant coach at Notre Dame, was chosen as the Pacers' first head coach, while Roger Brown was the first player to be signed by and play for the Pacers. The Pacers played their first game against the Kentucky Colonels on October 14, 1967, and defeated them 117-95. The Pacers led the ABA in attendance that first season, averaging over 5,000 a game. The 1969 season was only 9 games old when Bobby Leonard was named to replace Ratermann as head coach. That season, Indiana won the Eastern Division and made it to the ABA championship. Coach Bob Leonard took the ABA Pacers to 3 championships during his tenure. The Pacers won the ABA title in the 69-70 season, defeating the Los Angeles Stars 4-2. In the 71-72 season, the Pacers knocked off the New York Nets 4-2 for the title. And in the following season, the Kentucky Colonels took the Pacers to 7 games before Indiana won its 3rd ABA championship. Under Slick's leadership, the Indiana Pacers were the team to be feared by the rest of the league. The fiery Bobby Leonard was a motivator and a father figure as well to his ball clubs. This is a rarity in the professional basketball of today, but a formula that served Leonard well for 8 ABA and 4 NBA seasons with the Indiana Pacers.
It was easy to motivate because I could get them so mad at me that they would take it out on the other ball club. But we were very close. We played hard and they worked hard on the court. They had a lot of success. We were together off the court. Now that's frowned on in a lot of circles today, that the players and coaches, there should be an aloofness between coaches and players. I totally disagree with that theory, and the proof was we won championships doing it the other way.
Roger Brown spent 8 seasons in a Pacer uniform. He is the original Pacer, being the first to sign with the organization. When people speak of Roger Brown, they remember a player with some of the greatest one-on-one moves they had ever seen. The player you gave the ball to when the game was on the line. History seems to have left Roger Brown behind when you talk about the all-time greats to have played the game. But his teammates, coaches, and players he went against know better. Not only was he one of the Pacers' finest, but one of basketball's finest. His uniform jersey number, 35, is retired.
And when it was time to do something, I just went out and did it, or attempted to do it, and most of the time it worked. And there was sometimes when there was failure, very few. But I would categorize myself as being a quiet leader. And basically, with the teams that I was on from 67 up until the time I retired, which was in 75, just about everybody was a quiet leader because we knew what we had to do, we knew when we had to do it, and we just went out and did it. And if we needed any motivation, Slick definitely motivated us.
Mel Daniels, alias Slim, played 6 seasons with the Pacers, twice named the ABA's MVP in 1969 and 1971. He is Indiana's all-time leading rebounder, and he was selected 4 times on the All-ABA team. At 6'9", Daniels was small by today's standards for a center, but in his prime, many ranked Daniels in the upper echelon of centers for that era. That included Wilt Chamberlain, Artis Gilmore, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Mel's jersey number, 34, is retired.
To me, I was a hard-working guy. I hated to lose. I took losing a heck of a lot tougher than most guys did. I mean, I threw things, I went temper tantrums, because I felt that when we lost the game, it took away that whole week, that time, the preparation time was depleted by somebody. They stole from me. My contribution, I felt that if I could score 17 plus points a game, get 14 plus rebounds a game, block some shots, play adequate defense off the ball, help my teammates do some, pass. I thought I would doing my job as far as the center was concerned.
George McGinnis, 6'8", 235 pounds, out of Indiana University, played 7 seasons with the Pacers. He was co-ABA Most Valuable Player in 1975 along with Dr. J. Julius Erving. McGinnis was the prototype in mobile big men to have an impact on the game. Moses Malone, formerly of the ABA, and Charles Barkley would follow in that regard. A holder of numerous Pacer records, George McGinnis is one of 3 Indiana Pacers to have his jersey number retired.
I think that I was blessed with a lot of ability. Fortunate enough, I think, at a very early age to play or be coached by some coaches who learned me things that big guys wasn't doing back then. Like I could dribble the ball, I could handle the ball, and then back then it wasn't too many forwards who could bring the ball up court. Let's say if we were in a pressing situation where another team was pressing us, well, we could flip-flop our guards and have our forwards bring the ball up the court.
Bob Nedelicki, 6'9", 225, out of Drake University, played 8 seasons for the ABA Pacers. He was a big contributor for the team, averaging 15.5 points a game, for not only his regular season career, but for the playoffs as well. Neto, as he was known, had a great touch on a sweeping hook shot.
I started out here my first year I was a center. We didn't really have a dominant center here, and I played center in college, so I played center my first year. And then the biggest move I think they made probably in the years where they got Mel the next year. So Mel moved to center, and I moved to power forward, and of course Roger was the other forward, Freddie, and Billy. Billy wasn't even there for a couple of years, but that's the role I played and throughout my career. And then at Dallas, I played center again because they didn't have a center down there. And then when I came back here, I continued at forward. I played either starting or backup role at forward with George.
Freddie Lewis, 6 foot, out of Arizona State, played 8 years with the ABA Pacers. Prior to coming to Indiana, he played with the Cincinnati Royals of the NBA, where he learned a lot from Oscar Robertson. Lewis was the Pacer captain. Fritz, as he was known, averaged 16 points a game and more than 18 points during his playoff tour.
I just feel like my role with the Pacers, being the captain, that I enjoyed every moment of it, and it was just great bringing all the guys together. And the bottom line, I say again, that was my team.
Billy Keller, 5'10", 180 out of Purdue, was the spark plug of the Pacer teams. Keller had a keen eye for gunning the three-point home runs and is the all-time Pacer leader in that regard and in attempts made. Keller led the Pacers in free throw percentage and ranks in the top 4 in Pacer career assists doled out.
I think my role was to be a floor general. I guess that's the term that I received coming in, was to handle the ball, to make things happen, to be a penetrating guard, to kick it off to the guys that were our shooters, guys like Freddie Lewis and Roger Brown, and getting the ball inside to Neto and to Mel. And then as time went on, I became more and more of a shooter myself.
Rick Mount, 6'4", 185 out of Purdue, was one of the finest shooting guards ever to come out of the Big Ten. He played 2 seasons for the Pacers before moving on to the Kentucky Colonels, the Memphis Hams, and eventually the Utah Stars, where he had his better years. When one speaks of the Rocket from Lebanon, one thinks of one of the better pure shooters to have played the game.
I was made into more of a ball handling guard, and which my strength was shooting the basketball. Coming out of high school and college, I might have been one of a lot of people consider me the greatest shooter to come out. Al McGuire, people like that. But I scored about 12 points a game, and I think in my second year when I started, almost the whole year, I ended up scoring about 17 a game. It was more to get it inside, and if the guy 2 times, to kick it back out, things like that, and bringing the ball up and trying to get inside, which was a new role for me because. In high school and college, I was the guy that was getting the ball, the first option and things like that, and it was hard to adjust.
Coach, some would say that the ABA was underestimated and never given its just due in the history of basketball. What are your thoughts on this?
We just didn't get, Rick, we just did not get, they wanted to battle us all the way. We didn't get the media coverage, the television, and all the things that they get today in the NBA.
But you and I know better.
Boy, I sure do. I've been around this game for a long, long time. I was an NBA player. I was an NBA coach before I ever came to the Pacers. I was a head coach in the NBA when I was 29 years old. So I've seen everything that's come up and down the pike for the last 30, 35 years, including Chamberlain and when he started, Bill Russell and Cousy and all the great ones back there that I played against, and all the way up to today. So I know how good the ABA was.
For that one decade when the ABA, the few teams in the ABA that joined the NBA, it was the super players from that ABA league who really began to dominate NBA basketball for an entire decade. So I think over the course of time it proved itself that I think the ABA was in fact just as good, if not a better league than the NBA.
If you look at most of the superstars of the NBA, I mean in the past 10 years, well, where did they come from? Came from the ABA. Dr. J, Moses Malone, Dan Issel, Artis Gilmore, George Gervin, Billy Knight, George McGinnis. I mean, you can go on until, but they all came from the ABA. So it wasn't as if the ABA players came from another planet. I mean, all the players all the way back in Oscar's day. All right, I played against Oscar before I ever came over to Indiana. As a matter of fact, he was the reason why I even came to Indiana, because he was the one that told the Pacers about me over in Dayton. So there wasn't really any difference. It was because the media wanted to make a difference out of it, and I guess that made for much more interesting reading. But no, the players are the same. Players are the same, if not. I guess you could say the ABA had better players. You could say that.
The NBA before the ABA and the ABA merged, it was like a real boring game. People didn't, you know, it was a father, you know, league, but people wanted excitement, and the ABA had the excitement. They had the exciting ball players that would just run and dunking and everything. In the average NBA game at this time, they would have 2, 3, maybe 4 dunks a whole game. It was kind of boring. But in the ABA, the guys was dunking like 25 to 30 times a game. So this is what the people wanted to see. So what happened was when the two leagues merged, the guys from the ABA were so exciting that they made the older guys in the NBA, either you become exciting like we are, or you're gonna have to get out of the game. We're gonna push you right out of the game. And this is what I see happen when the two leagues merged, because the guys came over and the NBA just became the game it is today. It's like they say on TV, it's fantastic, and that's, to sum it up, that's what the ABA did for the NBA.
We've had a lot of innovations that they laughed at. The three-point play, of course, nobody uses that anymore. And they all made fun of that. We had the red, white, and blue ball, which I like. I still think it's the greatest thing to play with. You can see it better, you can shoot it, you can watch it rotate. And I think maybe someday they might even go to that. I don't know. But I think what the ABA did also is they gave a lot of guys a chance to play that were talented, that weren't out there, that the NBA didn't have that many teams. And towards the end, as you well know, the ABA had most of the great players.
We were always under pressure of that cloud of not being as good. But if people go back and look at the records, they'll see that Dan Issel, Julius Erving, Artis Gilmore, the people who played in the NBA, from the ABA, made a significant contribution. I mean, big time. George Gervin, Moses Malone. You look at their names, they're in the tops of rebounding and scoring. So I think it's a farce, and nobody's ever apologized for calling us a weakling, that they should think that we weren't as good or talented as the guys in the NBA.
The ABA gave the game of basketball some excitement with the three-point line, which now the high schools are using, the NBA is now using, the girls are using at the high school level, the college level, both men and women are using the three-point shot. So I think that was a very positive trademark that the ABA was able to give to basketball in general. And I think also the red, white, and blue ball, I think, was exciting for the fans to watch, because when it was red, white, and blue, it stood out to be something of great importance. And of course now with an orange basketball or a dark brown basketball, it goes somewhat unnoticed. It's just a part of the game, where I think the basketball that the ABA used was a ball that really meant something.
Coach, if the game was on the line and you needed a basket, had to have a basket, who would you go to? Would it be Roger Brown?
Oh, it was Roger Brown. He's one of the great one-on-one players that I've ever seen. And, you know, I can say that with some authority, because probably in my own playing career, I played 5 years with Elgin Baylor, who is one of the all-time greats and a great one-on-one player. And Roger Brown had every bit the ability one-on-one to beat people that Elgin Baylor had.
Yeah, Roger. Now, here's a guy that I mean, he was like a brother to me also. One of the best talents that you ever want to see. Right now today, when people describe the Michael Jordans, the Julius Ervings, the Rick Barrys, now Roger was one. He was one of the forwards that I enjoyed with playing so much, I mean, my whole career, because he was a player. When I say a player, he did everything on the court.
Roger was, I mean, you give Roger the ball when you need a basket. He'd get over there and shake and bake a little on him right at the end and put the ball in and give him those little moves. He always said he was a money player. He always wanted to do it when the money was on, he got it done. I remember, I remember one time, it was during a season, a little thing on Roger, and we was going to clear out for him. It was about 12, 15 seconds on the clock. We were down 1 point. We were going to clear out for him, let him operate, and if he got fouled or he operated. So Roger got fooling around over there, and he never got the shot off. and I always remember he said at the paper, he says, well, when the money's on, I'll get the shot off. But that's the only time I ever didn't get a shot off, and he let the clock run down and never did get it off. But he's always been, I always remember him being over and making those off the dribble, fake left, go rights, guys move one way and he's going the other way, and make the clutch bucket or the free throw at the end of the game.
At the end of a game, when we were down by 1 or 2 points, this is a play that we used, and it would work 99% of the time. And this was called "Give it to Roger and let's drink some beer." This is after a timeout. Freddie Lewis would have the basketball here. Neto and I would set a double screen there. Two-man was out here. Roger would come down the floor and curl off of us. Freddie would hit him, take a juke step towards him, and come off a double here. There was a switch. I would roll or Neto would roll, but most of the time, this was either a three-pointer, and if we were down by 1, it was all over because Roger would simply juke a guy and then simply beat him to the basket. And the game was curtains.
Let me just say this about Roger Brown. If Rick Barry, whose number was just retired with the Golden State Warriors last week, if Rick Barry's one of the all-time greats and in the Hall of Fame, Roger Brown should be too. Because in the '72 series, when Rick Barry was really in his prime with the New York Nets, Roger Brown totally dominated him in the series.
I think Roger, and if you're watching Raj, I hate to say this, but Roger was probably one of the finest basketball players ever played the game, and I mean ever play the game. One-on-one, I don't think that he has an equal, period, in the hit Michael Jordan or anybody. Roger Brown one-on-one was the finest I've ever seen.
You know, a player like myself, who is basically considered a one-on-one player, has to have the ball in order to do his thing. So without it coming off the boards and without it going into Mel's or Bob Nedelecki's hands or George or Darnell's hands, of course I couldn't have the ball. And the ball has to be fed to me by a guard. And you have Freddie Lewis and Billy Keller and Donnie Freeman. So, you know, a lot of the credit for my success, you know, has to go to the other players.
Describe Mel Daniels as a ball player.
Well, Mel's rebounding ability was outstanding, and I don't think he really got the credit for it. He had a tremendous jump shot, a turnaround jump shot, and a decent hook shot, but he would protect you. He would protect his teammates. In other words, if a player got by me, you could always depend on Mel to leave his man and attempt to stop your man.
Mel was a real worker. He played extremely hard and got a lot out of his ability because, you know, he worked hard and he was just unrelenting. A great rebounder and great guy to play with.
Mel was probably the best center in the ABA, and I would say, counting Wilt Chamberlain and all those guys, he was in the top 5 in the pro basketball. He could shoot, he could play defense, he could pass. he was just a great all-around player. And you know, a lot of people gave a lot of other guys credit, but the main ingredients for our basketball team being a great basketball team was Mel Daniels.
I don't think that they could have got anyone better to come into the Indiana Pacers organization to do the job that Mel Daniels did. Mel was 6'9" tall. Today, the centers are anywhere from 7 foot up. And Mel he held his own. He did super work. He worked hard. He was a worker in practice and in the games. And he was very successful, and he knew that I was one that was always behind him and with him on anything he wanted to do. And all his accomplishments, he should have got. He just didn't get enough of them.
Mel was an extremely intense player. Mel was tough, Mel was mean, Mel made it all work, and Mel was kind of the glue that we needed to pull our team together. He was a great rebounder. I don't think people really realize how good a rebounder he was. When that ball went on the glass, he went after it. He'd knock people down, throw them on the floor. He'd do anything he could to get a rebound. Plus he was a great guy. He was one of the, actually, our whole team that one year was just fantastic guys. But Mel was a great guy. We all liked each other, and Mel was just an intense competitor.
As I look at those players, I look at a Mel Daniels, and I see today some of the centers that are playing and doing very well in the NBA. Mel Daniels wouldn't have had any problem at all.
We played as a unit. Each guy nowadays is a corporation. Everybody's worried about their corporation. We played not for the money because the money wasn't there. It was there, but you know, not like it is now. We played because we loved the game. And we loved one another. I mean, it wasn't anything that we would do off the court. I mean, we partied together, we cried together, we did everything together. And I'm talking about each guy that came to the Indiana Pacers kind of fell into the groove with us because they knew what to expect. That we were winners. We took everything serious. I mean, when we went on the court, it was all business. And I think that's how we approach the game, and I don't think it's being approached that way now. I think it's too many I's in the situation now. There's too many me's, you know, it's not we.
The true meaning of Pacer pride.
The true meaning of Pacer pride, I don't think these guys understand it. I don't think they understand the feeling, not only among the ball players and among the coaches and then, but in the community. This is a basketball state, and they accepted the professional end as well as they did the high school end. And until these guys feel that the past, I mean, the tradition that we set down, and they're a part of that tradition, I don't think we're going to get a whole lot done. And they got to cut out the I's and me, you know, that just don't work.
Describe for me Bobby Leonard as a coach. Was he a tactician, a cheerleader, or a mix of both?
I would say that Leonard was more the cheerleader, the enthusiastic coach, the hollering and screaming type coach. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I think Slick was just very enthusiastic with his personality, with his coaching, and that's the way he approached it.
He was never afraid to take chances. You know, there's an old saying that, you know, you're down by 2 points and you have the basketball and you're on the road. Well, the average coach would probably play for the tie. Slick was very daring, and he would go for the three, and he would go for the juggler.
He would get on guys in practice. I mean, he would get on them to the fact that he would put us out of practice. We'd almost get in fights in practice. He'd just make us go at it, but then he would sit back in the corner, he would laugh, he'd say, "Now I got him exactly feeling the way I want him to feel in order for him to go out and play a great game." And this is what he wanted out of us. He wanted the best out of us. He knew our ability. He knew what we could do. And this is what he wanted to bring out every night, and he was very successful. I have to give him all the credit in the world for us being the champions like we were.
This man had a knack of getting down to your soul when it was time to get down to your soul. When the time was critical, he would always come up with a new, innovative form of motivating the players. He just had a way of getting to you, and he'd get you mad at him, but you'd end up being mad at yourself, and you'd end up being mad at the opponent after he got through with you. So, and obviously it worked out because we've got 3 championship rings to show for it.
He clears down under. Raj clears down under. Slim looks at him, turns around. George, you're going in to set the pick. You're moving. George is going in to set the pick. Roger faking like you're coming over and doubling back underneath. You got him? So go out for Roger. Go down Roger's side. Here, look here. Line Raj up on. Line Raj up on the other side of the floor.
And then bring it across the top. Watch your pass across the top. Let's go to the hoop. Now, we got 1 team foul. How many fouls Billy got? Let's bring it down this side here. Ollie. Stay out. Get your hands up, Art. Now, let's move that ball and hit that open man. Now, go for Freddie. Hurry up.
You know, when they drive, they're looking to hit the guy going into the hoop on block and fade. Now, let's get her going. Come on, baby. Let's really get tough now. Let's Let's take it into the basket. 3 teamers apiece. Let's take it inside and go to the hoop now. The bank off the board and off the rim. Yes, sir. John knows. Hit the board. No, it didn't hit the board and the rim. Billy, come. Run your clock down. We got 30 more. Put it in there. Get the floor clocks right. 30 seconds. Run all the way down. Go pick for Roger. Be awake, Roger.
Some coaches feel that they can't be a part of the team, and that's their style. And I'm not knocking anyone's style, but Slick was a part of our basketball. He was a part of what we felt. He was a part of what we did. He was the type of coach that would come in at halftime and change the whole offense. So that offense is not working, we'll do something else. And put in 5 or 6 brand new plays, and we'd execute that. He's the type of guy that if he knew that you were dragging a little bit, he wasn't afraid to pick up a hockey stick and threaten your life.
He'd take a club and chase you around the locker room, and then 20 minutes later we'd be out having a beer together. We would sit out, he would tell me, we'd be in a bar having a drink or something, he'd say, I don't care what happens to you tonight, as long as when you're on that floor, give me 100%, run through the wall for me. He says, I'll do anything for you. But he expected 100% of you on the floor, and when off the floor, it was just like, I mean, it was like a father figure to almost all of us.
The players developed a confidence not only in ourselves, but in Slick, because we saw these things being diagrammed at timeouts and actually taking place, I mean, developing exactly like he said they would. And we got great results from that.
I was one of those guys, when I walked on the floor, I wanted to beat the other coach, the other team, the referees, everybody in the place.
George McGinnis, your thoughts about George McGinnis?
Had tremendous talent, physical talent. I mean, there's nobody that size with that kind of quickness in that league. I mean, he was 6'8", and he weighed 225, and he was quick with it. That was the key to his success, his body. He was so quick, and he had good skills with that too. And you just tell George McGinnis was going to be a great player in either league.
I watched George when he was at Washington High School in Indianapolis, and I couldn't believe he was like a man playing with some young kids. I mean, his talent, his body, and his ability was far above anyone that he could play against. I think George was ready for the pros when he was in high school. You know, he was a 6'8", 235, 240-pound kid with a lot of speed and quickness that they just wasn't ready for when he came to the ABA. Now, when we got George added an awful lot to our team.
I can remember telling Sports Illustrated that I thought at the time when they were up to see George, he was the best forward in the game. I mean, the guy could do it all. And I've seen him do things that I tell people about just still to this day amaze me. For a man with his body and his size, he was 6'8", 240, and he was, I mean, the guy could run faster than the guard, jump higher than most guys, do everything. He was just a fantastic basketball player.
One thing I remember about George McGinnis is the one-handed pump shot, and fundamentally it didn't look too good, but for you it worked. Is that something that somebody taught you?
I really don't know. I go back and I've looked at high school films of myself in 1969, and I shot basically a one-handed shot, like a push shot. And you know, I certainly didn't recommend that type of shooting to anyone else. But I think that, you know, if you're successful at something, then you don't have to be traditional. There's nothing that says that just because this is the way everybody else does something, you should do it. I think the most important thing is what you do, what type of results do you have, and if you can be consistent and with your style, then there's no need to change it. Nobody really ever tried to change it.
What comes to mind when you think of Freddie Lewis as a ball player?
Mr. Confidence. I think there was never a time when Freddie couldn't get the job done in his mind. He knew that the first shot of every game was going to be his, and whenever we needed a bucket at the end of the game, he knew he could make it. And I think that confidence rubbed off on other players.
Probably the best point guard that has ever played for the Indiana Pacers. He did everything. He could play defense, he could shoot it, he could run, he could handle break. He had the greatest talent for getting the big men in the game there ever was, because he understood what most point guards don't understand, that if your big man aren't working for you, you're gonna have a tough night. So Freddie saw to it that I had the ball early, that Neto had the ball early, and he knew that Roger would get it anytime he wanted. So he kept us in the game by getting the ball and patting us, way to go, big guy. And he kept us pumped up. So he did a great psych job on us, you know. He was an extension of Slick, and it was great.
We had some great years, and I look back at some of those players, and I look at a Freddie Lewis, and I look at the guards today. Freddie Lewis on a basketball floor was a true leader. He led the ball club, and he got the ball to the people. He sacrificed. He did all the things that today what they call a point guard. He was an excellent defensive player, passer. He could score. He could play the game of basketball.
He was probably one of the most underrated players that's ever put on a Pacer uniform. Extremely smart, knew how to keep everyone within that team happy. Meaning that if there was one guy felt like, hey, I'm being ignored a little bit offensively, he would make sure that that guy got the ball to keep him satisfied. And he just knew how to handle, he knew how to handle the players. He knew what to say to you. And he was another guy who was a big play guy. I mean, I can remember him making big play after big play after big play. He was literally the spiritual leader of our ball club.
Freddie was very underrated. Freddie was a good guard. Freddie played great defense. He was tougher than nails. He was a great shooter. But Freddie was kind of caught in the shadow of Mel, myself, Roger up front. We used to have in the All-Star games, you could only take 3 people. And normally it was Mel, Roger, and me that went to the All-Star game, and Freddie should have gone. And finally, Freddie did get a chance when he went to St. Louis, and he was the most valuable player one year in the All-Star game. And Freddie was an excellent player.
Describe for me Bob Nedelicki's role on the Indiana Pacers.
Had great size, great athlete, could jump, could shoot, had range 16, 17 feet, great hook, very lazy, but we didn't care. We understood Bob Nedelicki. We didn't care if he cherry-picked and left me to get the rebound, or Roger or Freddie to get the rebound, or someone else to get the rebound. We understood him, and we didn't complain, we didn't bitch about the fact that he would leave early. It was a part of his game. We wouldn't say anything on the court because that wasn't the place. We would say things, and he'd say, so what? It's your job to get the ball, you know. And it was a joke, and he would come back. The comeback was such that it was said, all right.
Well, Nettle was a great player. He was a little easygoing. Our room was Nettle, that's why I'm laughing. But there was a guy that I don't think ever grew up. He was something else. He was a very funny person. Could play the basketball game. He could play. You get him post up low. He was very good low. I think sometimes he wanted to play guard, but if we didn't get it into him, he'd let us know. When Nettle when he wanted to play, he was one of the best players in that league. But some nights he didn't want to play. you know, I shouldn't say that, but 8 out of 10 nights or 9 out of 10 nights he played, and he played well.
Here was the comedian of the team. He kept us laughing. I mean, anything he did was just funny. Now here's a guy, he had snakes, things like this for his pets. He'd tell us, come on over to my house, you know, and the snake be crawling around on the floor, or some kind of animal he had that, you know, was his pet. He was just a fun type guy and a great player. I mean, a great player. He was very, very important and very instrumental in us winning. If we didn't have him, we couldn't have won.
Bob Nedelecki, Neto could hit the 15-foot jumper. He had great jumping ability, ran the lanes on the fast break, and had probably, you don't see it so much today, you see Jabbar and they call it the sky hook. Nedelecki had a great, great hook shot from inside.
Neto, I felt like was an outstanding player. I felt like he had a lot of talent. He could do just about anything that on the floor that he wanted to do, especially inside, a hook shot, a turnaround jump shot. He was just inconsistent. He was almost lazy. But when he got his mind in a gear to accelerate, he could really play. He had some outstanding games, and I felt like he could have played longer in the professional ranks than he did.
Describe for me Billy Keller's role on the Indiana Pacers.
One of the greatest three-point shooters I've ever seen. Fiery, tenacious, exciting to watch. Once he got it going, one of the most devastating three-point shooters I have ever seen. A real crowd favorite, but a guy who earned everything he got because he worked his tail off.
I look at a Billy Keller. Billy Keller probably, Rick, was one of the greatest three-point shooters that ever played the game. They talk about Danny Ainge today. Danny Ainge couldn't carry Billy Keller's jock as far as shooting three-pointers is concerned.
Billy was the kind of player that if they tried to stop Roger, me, or Mel inside and sag back on us, bingo, we hit Billy. Billy'd hit the three, and that gave us the freedom because the guards couldn't come back and pester us and try to steal the ball from us. We had that outside threat. Between Billy and Freddie, who could both shoot the threes, that's what gave us that inside freedom to roam around, because they, on that particular team, they could not help out, because if one of those two guys were open, we'd get them the ball and they'd hit the three.
When Billy played with me, we played just super because we complimented each other. I knew exactly what Billy wanted to do. I think I got the best out of Billy.
What role did Rick Mount play on the Pacers?
The first thing that would come to my mind was just a tremendous shooter, probably the best pure shooter that I have ever been associated with on the basketball floor. Tremendous college shooter, and I'll tell you, with the three-point play being where it is right now, had it been the three-point line when Rick was playing, I don't think there would have been anyone to ever touch his scoring records in the Big Ten.
Greatest pure shooter I've ever seen. Very sensitive guy, a hard worker, came to the Pacers at a tough time.
I think Rick was one heck of a basketball player. Rick was intense on the court and one of the best shooters I've ever seen. I'd say between him and Jimmy Rail, the two best shooters I've ever seen in my life, and I don't care who you are. I'd put those guys, even now, at their ages now in the 30s and 40s, I bet you those two could shoot the eyes out of it from anywhere. I know Jimmy can, I'm sure Rick can. But I think Rick would have probably, I think Rick had some problems. I wasn't here the year he separated his shoulder, but when he went to Memphis now, he made the All-Star team. He was one of the league's leading scorers down there. And I think Rick had one of those careers that just didn't quite get there but could have been. Rick was a very good basketball player.
If they had the three-point shot when you were playing college basketball, do you think that anybody today would be touching your Big Ten scoring records?
Oh, I don't think, well, right now people are breaking my records playing like 30-some more games because they're playing 4 years. I don't think they'd ever touch it, because if you want to look back, I averaged 35 points a game my junior year. I would have probably averaged 45, and my senior year around 48 or 50 points a game, because most of my shots came from, say, 8 or 10 more I'd say 10 or 12 more points a game came from that area. So you could add on 10 or 12 more points. So I don't think nobody would have ever touched it.
One of the greatest rivalries in all of basketball, and certainly one that I've always thought was very much underrated, and that's the rivalry between the Kentucky Colonels and the Indiana Pacers. You've seen it from both sides, having played for the Colonels and the Pacers. Give me a feeling for the flavor of that rivalry, Rick.
I think it's kind of like the rivalry between Purdue and Indiana. I mean, when you go out there, it's blood and guts and everything else you put out on the floor. And I was on, like you said, it was on both sides, and I've seen both ends of it. And like when I was with Kentucky, my first year, the Pacers beat us in 7 games. I was back in the finals 3 years in a row. Went to the finals 3 years in a row with 3 different teams. It's tremendous rivalry. I mean, fans go crazy on both ends of it, and you know, there's people that yelling for me when I was with Indiana, was cussing me when I was with Kentucky. So it gets hot.
Well, there was 2 aspects of playing the Colonels. You know, the game on the floor and the fight on the floor. And in some instances, those fights carried over into the stands. That was probably the greatest rivalry that the Pacers had of all the teams that we played since I was there. We hated the Colonels, and I'm sure the Colonels hated us, but, and I'm saying with respect.
The teams were so identical, we were so close. Our fans, another key to it, I think, is we were close enough that when we went to Louisville, we'd have busloads of fans down there. And I mean, they were hollering and screaming, and it was like a war. And the same thing up here. And I mean, our fans are not nice. You know, our fans, we had a group of fans that would sit behind our bench that actually paid to get season tickets behind the bench, that from the moment the game started, they never shut up to the other team. They'd call them everything. They'd call their mother's names. They'd call them everything for the whole game, and it would rattle these people. And the same way down there. I mean, I can remember one night that a fan came out and threw a beer in Freddie's face, and Mel grabbed the guy and ripped his sweater off.
It was just, you just love to hate them guys. I'm sure that they love to hate us. So it was a tremendous matchup because they had Gilmore and Dan Issel and people like that, and had an outstanding club. And my last year with the Pacers, they did end up beating us in the championship, and Hubie Brown was coaching that team at that point. But it was a great rivalry between not only the players, but you go down there and the fans would throw popcorn at you coming out to warm up, and it was just something special about playing them guys.
Kentucky and Indiana, there's been a rivalry in anything they've ever done. I don't care what it was, pitching horseshoes across the road, whatever. But when we played, it was kind of like everybody in Kentucky came to the game, and when they came up here, it was the same way. It was different. It was good. It wasn't so much it was nasty, but it was a physical, hard-fought situation. And I mean, we went out all out. They said we couldn't win and da-da-da. So we won 4 games in a row. We won 3 games in a row. And we just blew them out. You know, Roger said, well, I remember Roger saying something like, well, don't worry about it, Slick. Told Slick, he said, you worry too much. We'll take care of it. And we won it. So, and the people in Kentucky were stunned, the people in Indiana were stunned, the people in the media were stunned. They didn't think we could pull it off, you know, because it was a rare thing to do. But it was a very good rivalry. I still enjoy it. People in Kentucky still talk about it. The ball players, I see some of the ball players when I go down there to scout Louisville, they still talk about the rivalries and how good it was.
Is there any one thing that you can single out and you thought to yourself, boy, this is it. This is the top?
Well, the top was those times in the dressing room after you'd won the whole thing. The 3 times that we won it, the times that we were together in the dressing room after we won those championships, that's as good as it gets.
the thing that really bothers me more than anything else in the world, that I don't think myself or Roger or Freddie or Neto will ever be invited to the Hall of Fame. And I'm telling you today, and I'm not saying this because of whatever, I'm saying that if we weren't as good as some of the guys in the Hall of Fame, there shouldn't be a Hall of Fame. And if Roger Brown wasn't one of the, I'm talking about one of the top 5 small forwards in the league that ever played, then there shouldn't be a Hall of Fame. It's a farce.
Just remember me as being a nice guy, the leader of the Pacers, and maybe one day they'll put me in the Hall of Fame where they have Mel and Roger and those guys retire my jersey at Indiana.
When the Pacers of the ABA were in their prime, they could match up with just about anybody to play the game. Always underestimated and never given its just due, the American Basketball Association provided us with some of the finest ball players ever. The ABA has given us the three-point shot, and perhaps in years to come, the NBA will adopt an important aspect of basketball still missing, the red, white, and blue ball. The Indiana Pacers of today and of years to come have a very tough act to follow, but their day in the sun will come, and when it does, they will share in a part of Hoosier history.
So don't